got our image pieces in, and we're more or less happy with how they are right this second. We've kind of fine-tuned some of the erasing around them. They stand on their own the way we want to, but now we want to bring the text in. So this video, we're going to look at the text and a little bit more movement of our pieces and finish up. So again, if you need to make the layers down the side disappear, you hit the button here. You want to make them appear again. You click there again, and then ta-da, we have our layers come up. And I'm going to hit the plus button here, and I want to select that I want to add some text. So I'm going to click on text there, and it pops up this text layer and it says tap here to edit, which is what we're going to do. So I know I want it to say farmer's market, and then I want it to give some date and time info. So tap to edit, farmer's market. That's apparently the market of one farmer. All right, that's my text. Cool. So then I want to format it. I'm going to want to change the size. I'm going to want to change some of the spacing, the color, and the font. So that all comes under the format. So if you click on format, the first thing that comes up is your font. And by default, it'll probably be Arial. And then as you can see, we can change the color, the fill, the size, the style, alignment, spacing. There's lots of stuff in here. But that by default, you start off on the font. Now I'm going to go to color, and one of the nice things is this eyedropper. It'll let you select a color that's already in your image. So I want my text to match the color green that I've got going on in all of my images here and all my kind of nice line art. So I'm going to tap that eyedropper, and then as you can see at the top here, it kind of just hangs out in part of like the corner of your piece. So I want to make sure that I'm then going to move my finger over to where I want to get it from, and I want to get some of this green. So I'm just gonna, there we go, pause it real quick, and so you see that little cross, this little T? That is the color it's going to select. So it almost like zooms super far in on what's inside your canvas, and the color it's gonna pick is that color that's in that little T. And you'll notice on top, that's the color that it's picking. So if I move around, you'll notice when I'm in the white area, if I can pause quickly enough, that top part turned white. And the original color was white, which is why the bottom of that loop was showing you the white that it was originally. So when I then let go in that area, it goes, okay, you want that green? Awesome. Now my farmer's market matches exactly the color that's used elsewhere in my piece, which means that I know it's going to match really well with everything that I do. So using that eyedropper is a great way to kind of make sure that what you're working with looks like what you want it to. So now I'm going to change my font. I'm going to have a look. Let's see what I got. I kind of like that old-timey look because, you know, it's a farmer's market. It's definitely not Zapfino, that's for sure. Okay, and I do want it to be in English, so might try another one, or maybe I'm happy. I'm gonna have a look. I'm okay. All right, so I want this to sit at the top, and then I'm gonna want my vegetables, and then I'm gonna want my info on the date and time. So I want it to be a bit bigger. So again, I'm gonna go over to size, and I'm just gonna use my finger there to scroll. I don't want to bold it or italic. That's what's inside there. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm okay with that for the moment. Click the OK. I think I might actually want this to sit on 2 lines rather than just on 1. So if I tap on it once, it brings me into edit. That was accidental. And again, just a reminder, if you tap on the text layer, there we go. Back, I was able to click on format there. So now I want to play with it and see. I think I want to make it larger so that it's on 2 lines. So I'm bringing the size up, and that's starting to get closer to what I want. But if I have it be bigger like that, I don't want this big gap between the top line and the bottom line. I want it to read as one thing, not farmer's market, but farmer's market. So if I scroll along in my options, obviously font, fill, size, style, which is bold, italic, and underline. Alignment, this is center aligned. You could have it be aligned to the left or to the right. Spacing is the space between each letter, or between the letters as a whole. So it's your tracking. And then we've got line, which is the space between the actual lines. So just so you know, you can play with your spacing, but if you go to line, by default, it's going to be auto. And auto is your, if you've got 10-point type, it's set at 12 points of space in between, which is like basically 120% of the point size is the automatic spacing, which, you know, is usually fine. But in this case, because it's so large, we're not setting body text. So that space looks huge. So I want to override the automatic. So I'm going to click on that, and you'll notice that it went from being at the bottom to suddenly it's in the middle. And this guy's moved a bit too. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to make it tighter. I don't want to have them interacting with each other. I want there to be some space between them, but I want it to read as like a single unit. So I'm going to play with that. And then once I'm happy, I can hit the checkbox. And like now that I've done that, I'm like, actually, I want to make it a little bit bigger. But you'll notice that if I make the size bigger, the line length is now locked because it's not automatic anymore. So I have to go back in and manually fix that. That's why they kind of bashed into each other like they did. So now I'm happier. I hit the check mark. Awesome. So I can kind of play with the sizing. I kind of like the idea of these guys being kind of close together, kind of tucking into the radishes. That makes me happy. Now I'm going to click on my pumpkin. I kind of want to maybe move the pumpkin and the corn up a little bit. Sorry for my fat fingers. So I'm going to go ahead and like make the corn into a single layer. Oops. When I did that, I then realized my corn are not lined up right. If you ever do something wrong and you want to undo, these buttons up here are your undo and redo buttons. So I can undo my merging once I realize that I'm not lined up right. And then I'm like, oops, I'm going to have to go back and undo a couple steps so that I can line my corn up. Okay, now my corn is lined up with my pumpkin. That's better. I want corn, pumpkin, corn, all in a line. Okay, now I can merge them and it's fine. So now when I merge that down, now we've got our corn nice in a row. I'm going to bring that up closer to the farmer's market and then move my pumpkin up. Nice. And then I can set the text for the dates and times that we're going to have our farmer's market. So plus text, tap to edit, and I can put in what the date and time information is. Saturday and Sunday. Type that out. 8 a.m. Here we go. To 1 p.m. Now, one of the things you'll notice I'm a stickler for, we've got a dash, we've got an N dash, and an M dash. M dashes are the equivalent of sometimes when you're typing in Word, you type 2 dashes in a row. They're a long dash. That's this longest guy over here. When you're doing something as this time to that time, it is an N dash. So it's the length of the letter N. This is the length of the letter M, and this is a regular hyphen. Hyphens should only be used if you're doing like pre-dinner and you need a hyphen in between pre and dinner. They shouldn't be used for things like punctuation in the middle of a sentence if you've got a parenthetical clause, or if you're doing 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. So if you click and hold, you can change from a hyphen to an N dash, or if you need an M dash, you can do that. So even on the phone, you can do proper typesetting. Just need to point that out. So this is 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then I can hit done. That's the text that I need to set. And I want to get into the format. I need to make sure I hit the right button. And again, I'm going to make it the green. So again, when you hit format, I'm going to go ahead and change my color, eyedropper, get my green from my pumpkin. There we go. Perfect. That's the color I want. And then I want it to be on 2 lines. I want Saturday and Sunday on one line, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on another. I did this through changing the size of the box by grabbing these handles. I could also just make Saturday and Sunday one text box, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. another text box. Unfortunately, carriage returns, as in like you do a return to another line, you can't really do within the text within Photoshop Mix. So just keep that in mind. So I just used the sized tools on the side here to kind of get it on the lines I wanted. What font do I want? I don't want to use the same font. Yeah. I like Copperplate because like it's in the same vein of it being kind of old style, but it's different enough that it's going to like jump out as being something a little bit different rather than the same. So I'm gonna have to play with this a little bit to get it to go back to the Saturday and Sunday on one line, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on another. So okay, let me play with the size to get what I'm looking for. Because I don't want it to be bigger than that, because that's the size of my text above. So I just played with the size until it fit the way that I wanted it to. Now I also want to play with the space, because one of the things about these kind of all caps fonts is you want to sometimes play with the space between the letters, because when you set something in all caps, going back to our typography, we see them as blocks rather than letters. The way that we read the up and down, we read this as a shape and we understand it. You don't have that when it's all caps. So you can set things either, if you want it to be really architectural, they all stand on their own, far apart, or bring them together so that it reads as a block. So that's why I'm kind of playing with the spacing a little bit, a little bit closer. And then again, because it's all one size, you don't have ascenders and descenders, then I can bring those lines really close together and they're not going to knock into each other. So, okay, then I'm going to move that. I want to move it closer, especially since the 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. is small. It can really like tuck in with the radishes. Now my radishes are on top, so I probably want to drag them so that they're underneath my pumpkin and corn. That's going to make life a little bit easier for me to actually interact with pieces. There we go. So now I can move my pumpkin and corn, try to have things be a little bit more balanced overall in the piece. And yeah, sometimes it's just kind of figuring out by eye how it feels balanced overall. So things don't feel top heavy or bottom heavy. Kind of play with it a little bit. So now I've just gone back. I'm going to go over saving next, but what I've just done there is I just hit this back button. Just as a reminder that when you do that, it will kind of save your project. There isn't a save button in here, so that's kind of one way to like force it to save. In the next video, I'm going to show you about exporting and actually like saving the actual like JPEG, the image file out. So I'm going to stop here for now before I go too far.